Good afternoon to you. I'm again outside in this lovely part of the world. It's been raining today, but it's still warm, and it's good to enjoy the fresh summer air, which we all need to do while we have it. You might notice in the front of me here that there's a sort of a black, dark area. What it is I'm resting the camera on a three-legged stool, and it tends to sort of point upwards on the sides. So I think you can see me clearly there. Well, as we know, anti-Semitism is global for the first time in world history. It's always existed, and we know that it isn't all about racism, that it's a spirit, it's demonic, and so I'm getting straight to the point on that one. And I just want to make mention of something that maybe some of you, I don't know, there may be some of you who are my listeners and watchers who are not aware of what the protocols of the Elders of Zion were. The protocols of the Elders of Zion was an anti-Semitic trope that was written in 1903 and published in a St. Petersburg, that's a Russian St. Petersburg newspaper. And just to point some facts out to you about the protocols of the Elders of Zion, it was a conspiracy theory, and it claimed that there were secret meetings of the so-called learned Elders of Zion and the World Union of Freemasons. And of course we all know that Freemasons are not only made up of Jews. But there were 24 protocols, and what this really were was 24 minutes of meetings that were held by these so-called councils. And they tried to actually say that the first Zionist Congress in Basel in Switzerland in 1897 was actually part of that, and that's where it originated, but it isn't the truth. Again, what we're dealing with here are tissues of lies that go back, well, further than 150 odd years, right the way back, of course, to when the nation of Israel was established. And God had his plan of salvation worked out through the Jews, through Yeshua, HaMashiach, Jesus Christ. But the aim, they were saying that the aim of the Jews, this has always been said, is a global takeover of every institution of civilization. Business, finance, media, politics, science, education, anything that you can name, that they would want to pin on the nation of Israel, on the Jews. They would. And of course Hitler used it through Goebbels. It was very much something that he could sort of pin his ideas on. It was even believed that the reason for the Germany's defeat in the First World War was to do with the protocols, and that it was to do with the Jews. More and more lies being told. Henry Ford, for example, the originator of or inventor of the assembly line of cars, the Model T and all the rest of it. Henry Ford was probably one of the biggest anti-Semites in the business world of that time. And he wrote a book called The International Jew. And Hitler, of course, used that as another excuse to throw the book at the Jews. It's absolutely crazy, the lies that are now being told. But what is striking for me is that all through the centuries, civilizations have been destroyed by lies that are being told as truth, people believing lies to be truth. And of course we know that's the way it works. Good will have evil spoken of it, and evil will triumph to appear as though it's good. And more minds are being manipulated by lies. And the truth of the matter is that people, whether they be Christians or not Christians, are becoming more and more manipulatable. And the more you give in to a lie, the stronger the deception becomes. As Hitler, I think, himself said, the bigger the lie you tell, the more people will believe it. And we're seeing that, of course, with the situation we've spoken about before with the Gaza aid, how the world is blaming Israel for not distributing the aid. Meanwhile, it's the United Nations. And of course, we're seeing more and more, aren't we, the culture of the protocols of the elders of Zion being used against the Jews. Well, there's two scriptures that come to mind here. And of course, we know that the Jews were a rebellious nation, that they went into exile twice, and that they didn't listen to the Lord. And God rose up prophets, didn't he? Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, and spoke against the things that were going on in the nations at that time. And like every other nation, like every other human being, Israel turned against its God, worshipped the Baals, sacrificed children to Molech, built golden calf, all the things that God didn't want the Jews doing, because God wanted them for himself, to follow him, the one true God. And we know that, of course. But they fell out of favour on those things. God had to punish them. And he does that here in the context of Jeremiah 6, Jeremiah 7, Jeremiah 8. Just looking at these passages. I don't want to go through them all now, because I don't want to go back into the history. But just to say that the importance of realizing that history, be it in the past or be it in the present, because many Jews today still turn their back on Yeshua the Messiah, still argue the case that the Messiah hasn't yet come. And of course we know that through the book of Romans that the Jews have their eyes blinded, and they're blinded for the sake of the Gentiles at the moment, aren't they? So that the full number of the Gentiles can come in. And God has his purposes. But of course the world now is shouting for peace. Peace and peace and peace. And there's two verses here that I just want to highlight to you. It's Jeremiah 6:14 and Jeremiah 8:11. It's interesting, I didn't notice this before, that it's exactly the same words that are used by Jeremiah here. And he says in Jeremiah 6:14, "They have healed also the hurt of the daughter of my people slightly, saying, peace, peace, when there is no peace." It doesn't actually matter about context, really, in this particular instance, because this is what people are doing. This is where the manipulated mind is totally deceived, believing that if this particular thing happens, then there'll be peace. And we've got Keir Starmer shouting that, threatening, in fact, that if Israel doesn't negotiate and come to terms with the idea of a ceasefire in Gaza, then he will recognize a Palestinian state. I can't quite reconcile how the threat of him recognizing a Palestinian state relates to Israel calling off its offensives against Gaza. It doesn't make any sense. But nevertheless, the threat's been made. And we know, of course, from the political side of things, that a two-state solution doesn't happen. It can't happen. And it will not be accepted by the children of Ishmael and Esau, going back into history, because that mindset is there. They have been taken over by that mindset. The only thing that will bring peace is Yeshua HaMashiach, the Messiah. And so, we go over to Jeremiah 8, verse 11, and what do we find? "For they have healed the hurt of the daughter of my people slightly, saying, peace, peace, when there is no peace." Jeremiah slips it in again, doesn't he? He wants to emphasize the fact that where there is no peace, you cannot create peace. Peace comes from another place altogether. And we know as believers in Yeshua that there's only one place that peace can come from, and that's from the heart of God. And the heart of God, through the Holy Spirit living inside us, that is where the true peace comes. And so we've seen how documents can be created, like the protocols, and people will believe anything. They'll believe anything written by somebody who appears to be reputable. Yes, even newer editions of the protocols have apparently come up, blaming the Jews for COVID, for 9/11. It's absolutely crazy. Even Hamas are now using it to speak evil and lies against the Jews. There can never be peace without Jesus. The world, of course, will never understand that. It's impossible. And we as Christians, what is our duty? What is the point of me saying all these things I'm saying today? Surely it has to be that we need to be watchful. We need to be aware of what's taking place around us, and we need to pray all the more as we walk with the Lord, that we ask Him to flood us more and more with His peace. Give us an understanding of how we should walk in these days. And remember what He says about the peace. It's a peace that passes all understanding. So it's not human understanding that we need, is it? It's understanding from the Spirit. It's the wisdom of God in who we talk to. I don't know how many of you, maybe you can tell me in the comments today, how many of you are in contact or in touch or are mixing with people who are speaking to you as a Christian about these issues, and what is your response? I really would like to know actually today in the comments if you can tell me what your response is to Christians who perhaps are steeped in replacement theology, that the Israel is no longer important, the physical Israel, and it's only for the church. I would be interested to hear what your response has been, and what is your response to what you're hearing now regarding the political situation. How can you input the gospel of Jesus Christ into the situation? And that's the point of the tracts that I write, is to draw people's attention to them, to what's going on. And as we do that, so we can point people to the truth, turn them away from the lies that are written about the Jewish people. So documents like the protocols, they exist, and I'm sure that there will be many other writings that have been written concerning the Jews and concerning the lies that are being told about them as a nation. God has His plan. We were talking about this yesterday in our fellowship group, and I was just pointing out the back history to everything, and saying that we have to look backwards at why things have taken place to see why things are taking place now. And all we can do is walk day by day with the Lord, trusting in Him, opening ourselves to His Word, and being able to boldly share the true gospel with those we come into contact with. So I just leave that thought with you today, and let's pray that God will use you in the situation you're in, and that we can still get the truth out to people while they possibly still may be able to hear. Have a blessed day.